Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our virtual Mishnah Berurah share. We're holding Mishnah Berurah Chelik Beis. We are continuing to learn Hilchas Netillas Yadayim, and Mirza Hashem today we will learn Daf Samach Aleph Amid Aleph, as well as part of Samach Aleph Amid Beis. We pick up today with the new Siman Kuf Samach Hey Din Ha'oiset Tzrachav V'Roitza Le'echel. This is a shaila that comes up quite often, very negei l'maisa. We're going to see that in Mishnah Berurah Ois Katan Aleph, the Mishnah Berurah is going to bring down a shla, and the shla, this is brought down both in the shla and the sefer Seder Hayom, that both say that before a person sits down to eat a seudah, he should be baidik himself. He should check to see whether or not he needs to use the Beis HaKisei. And the reason for this is very simple. It's not appropriate that a person should sit down to a seudah and then in the middle of the seudah have to get up and use the facilities. Now, if it happens, it happens. But preferably, you would rather, there's a time for eating and there's a time for a Beis HaKisei. The two of them don't mix well. So, you need the Beis HaKisei, use the Beis HaKisei before you sit down for the seudah. Now, the shaila right away becomes, if you're going to go to the Beis HaKisei before you wash the Netillas Yadayim for the seudah, you now have a very, very interesting scenario. You need to wash your hands from using the Beis HaKisei. You need to make a bracha of Asher Yatzar from using the Beis HaKisei. You need to wash the Netillas Yadayim l'seudah. So that's the second reason why you need to wash. And you need to make a bracha of al Netillas Yadayim. Now, when we do the math, like something I've been saying a lot since we've been learning Netillas Yadayim, when you do the math and you try to figure out what you should do first, what you should do second, you come up with some interesting questions. Let's follow this through. You go ahead and you use the Beis HaKisei. Now, immediately upon using the Beis HaKisei, you have now arrived at an obligation to make a bracha of Asher Yatzar. You use the Beis HaKisei, immediately there's a chiyuv chal on you to make a bracha of Asher Yatzar. Now, you can't make the bracha of Asher Yatzar because you have Yadayim mitunafos. Since you just used the Beis HaKisei, you have unclean hands and you're not allowed to make a bracha. So you have a chiyuv right away to make Asher Yatzar. You can't make the Asher Yatzar because your hands are unclean. So what do you have to do? You have to wash your hands. So when you do the math, it would seem that the first conclusion you would arrive at is that what you should do is use the Beis HaKisei, come out, wash your hands, and make the bracha of Asher Yatzar. So, okay, let's say you do that. You make the bracha of Asher Yatzar first. Now what are you going to do? Now you're going to make it on Netillas Yadayim? If you make it on Netillas Yadayim now, you run into a problem because you washed your hands. After you washed your hands, you are mafsik with the bracha of Asher Yatzar, and only then did you wash on Netillas Yadayim. Now, why is that a problem? It's very simple why that's a problem. Think about it for a minute. This is something that we learned back in Siman Kuf Nun Ches. The whole question of washing Netillas Yadayim and making the bracha, and when you should make the bracha, is an interesting question. Let's look at it from the perspective of all brachas hamitzvos. You go to take a lulav, you make a bracha of al netilas lulav, and then you take the daled minim. Whenever we make a brachas hamitzvos, we always make the bracha over la'asiyasan. Over la'asiyasan means that we make the bracha before we're mekayim the mitzvah. And we don't make a hefsek between the bracha and the mitzvah. Why is it that by Netillas Yadayim, first we do the Netillas Yadayim and then we make the bracha? If we follow the usual rule of brachas hamitzvos, you would think you would make a bracha, shaking the shadav v'sayis v'tzivan on Netillas Yadayim, and then you would go ahead and then you would wash. Yet, that's not what we do. We said back in Siman Kuf Nun Ches, Kuf Nun Ches, we said, no, Where is it? Here. It's on Mem Zayin Amid Beis, Siman Kuf Dun Ches, Sif Yud Aleph. The Mechaber says, Mevarech Koidem Netila. This is what the Mechaber says. The Mechaber says, really you should make the bracha Asher Kedushanim Mitzvaysav Tzivanu al Netillas Yadayim, and then right away you should wash the Netillas Yadayim. Make the bracha first, and then do the mitzvah. So the Mechaber says, Mevarech Koidem Netila. You make the bracha before you do the Netillas Yadayim. Why? Shekala mitzvahs mevarech aleim over lasiyasan, because that's the golden rule of brachas mitzvahs. But says the Mechaber, v'nagu shaloi levarech adaka netila. Yet the minig is that we do not make the bracha until after Netillas Yadayim. Why? Says the Mechaber, mishum de pa'amim she'ein yadav nikiyos. Because very often when you're coming to wash the Netillas Yadayim, you have unclean hands. You definitely have stam Yadayim, but very often you have unclean hands. Yadayim askani yisheim. You've been doing who knows what for the last several hours, right? So very often you have Yadayim mitunafais. You have unclean hands, and therefore you can't recite a bracha until you wash your hand. Therefore, says the Mechaber, the minig became that you don't wash the Netillas Yadayim, you don't make the bracha of Al Netillas Yadayim until after you wash. Okay, so in the typical scenario of Al Netillas Yadayim, we wash and then we make the bracha. But the same way the rule always is by Birchas HaMitzvahs that you can't be mafsik between the bracha and the mitzvah, so too in this case by Netillas Yadayim, even though we're making an exception to the rule. And instead of making the bracha before the mitzvah, you're making the bracha after the mitzvah, it's still inappropriate to have a hefsek between the mitzvah and the bracha. So even according to our minig, where we make the bracha after the netila, you can't have a hefsek between the Netillas Yadayim and the bracha of Al Netillas Yadayim. So therefore, we're going to see in the Mishnah Berurah, the idea that you should use the Beis HaKisei, come out, wash the Netillas Yadayim, make an Asher Yatzar, and only then make the Al Netillas Yadayim, that doesn't work. Because the Asher Yatzar would be a hefsek between the Netila, between the washing of the Netillas Yadayim and the bracha of Al Netillas Yadayim. So that eitzah doesn't work. Okay, fine. So let's try another eitzah. Let's go ahead, use the Beis HaKisei, wash the Netillas Yadayim, and then make the bracha of Al Netillas Yadayim. Now we don't have a problem of having a hefsek between the washing and the bracha. You're making the bracha right after you do the washing. Okay, what are you going to do with Asher Yatzar? So you'll make an Asher Yatzar now. Okay, so you're going to use the Beis HaKisei. You're going to come out, you're going to wash your hands. The first problem is that you're delaying the Asher Yatzar. Really, you already have a chiyuv to make an Asher Yatzar. Why aren't you making an Asher Yatzar? Okay, I'm not making the Asher Yatzar because I have to make the Al Netillas Yadayim first, because I can't have a hefsek between the washing and the Al Netillas Yadayim. And now I'll make an Asher Yatzar. There's a problem with that too. The problem with that is that there's another halacha, and that is that tekif linetila seudah. There's a halacha that you can't be mafsik between Netillas Yadayim and Birchas HaMoitzi. That's a halacha that we're going to see in Siman. That's going to be in Kuf Samach Vav. In a couple of days, we're going to have share on Siman Kuf Samach Vav, and we're going to see in Kuf Samach Vav that we paskin that you don't want to have a hefsek between washing and the bracha of Al Netillas Yadayim and then the bracha of HaMoitzi. We all know we wash, we say Al Netillas Yadayim, and then we don't talk. So to go use the Beis HaKisei, wash, make an Al Netillas Yadayim, and then be mafsik with the Asher Yatzar between the Al Netillas Yadayim and the Birchas HaMoitzi is also a problem. So what do? We can't make the Asher Yatzar first. We can't make the Al Netillas Yadayim first. So what do we do? So let's take a look here. We'll see what the Mechaber says. We'll see how the Mishnah Berurah explains the Mechaber, how he's mefarish the Mechaber. Then we'll see the eitzah that the Mishnah Berurah gives, and then we'll see yet another eitzah and what we do lamaisa. Okay. The halacha that pertains to one who needs to use the Beis HaKisei, and then he wants to eat. So he needs to wash Netillas Yadayim. Uboy Beis Seifim, and here we have two Seifim. Says the Mechaber Sif Aleph. Ha'oiset tzrakav, somebody who uses the facilities, v'roitza lechol, and then he wants to eat a seudah. He wants to be kavei seudah ala pas, so he needs to wash Netillas Yadayim. Says the Mechaber, what do? Yitol shtei pa'amim. You're going to have to do 2 washings. Okay? Al harishayna, after the first washing, mevarach Asher Yatzar. You'll make a bracha of Asher Yatzar. So you washed, you made your hands yadayim nikiyos to the extent that you're allowed to make a bracha. Now you'll make the bracha of Asher Yatzar. So you'll fulfill your chiyuv to make the bracha of Asher Yatzar. Va'al hashniya, and then you'll wash a second time, mevarach al Netillas Yadayim. And then after washing the second time, you'll make an al Netillas Yadayim. And now you'll have no problem of tekef l'netilas seudah. You won't have a hefsek between the Netillas Yadayim and the hamoitzi. Okay, let's see the technicalities of this. Let's take a look at the Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah is cut in Aleph. Ha'oiset tzrakav, somebody who uses the facilities before a seudah. Kasav b'shla, the shla writes, D'chol adam yivdaik atzmai lifanois kaidem hanetila. A person should always check himself to see if he needs to Beis HaKisei before he washes Netillas Yadayim. V'chein kasav b'sefer seder hayom, and so too it's written in the sefer seder hayom. So that means that very often this shaila is going to come up. The shla, the seder hayom, are telling you that proper behavior is when you're ready to sit down to eat a seudah, first check to see if you need the Beis HaKisei. So very often a person is going to be using the Beis HaKisei right before the seudah, and he's going to land in this shaila. Mishnah Berurah is cut in Beis. Yitol shtei pa'amim. The eitzah of the Mechaber right now is wash twice. Now, what precisely does this mean? Wash twice. It doesn't mean wash the Netillas Yadayim twice. It doesn't mean take the kais and do my rishayim, my mishtiyim, right, rishayim, my mishtiyim, make an Asher Yatzar, and then wash again with a kais, my rishayim, my mishtiyim, my rishayim, my mishtiyim, and make al Netillas Yadayim. It does not mean that. That would be a problem. You can't do that. What does it mean? Let's see what the Mishnah Berurah says. First, the Mishnah Berurah is going to outline the problem, the challenge, the way I outlined it to you outside at the beginning of this year. Says the Mishnah Berurah as follows. Yital shtei pamim. You're going to have to wash your hands twice. Why? De'im yital pamachas, because if you'll do one Netillas Yadayim, if you'll do a regular Netillas Yadayim, you'll come out of the Beis HaKisei, you'll take your washing cup, and you'll wash a regular Netillas Yadayim. Okay, what bracha are you going to make? So, he says, De'im yital pamachas, if you wash once, v'yavarech b'tchila Asher Yatzar, and you make the Asher Yatzar first, which is logical, because as soon as you used the Beis HaKisei, the chiyuv of Asher Yatzar was chal on you. V'achar kach al Netillas Yadayim, and then you're going to make the bracha of al Netillas Yadayim. You have a problem. What's the problem? Heavy hefsik bein hanetila lebrachasa. Now you're being mafsik between the Maisa mitzvah, the netila, the washing. You're being mafsik between the washing and the bracha of al Netillas Yadayim. You're washing, you're being mafsik with Asher Yatzar, and then you're making Asher Kiddushanim b'mitzvahs v'tzivan al Netillas Yadayim. So you're being mafsik between the kiyam ha-mitzvah and the mitzvah. V'im yavarech b'tchila al Netillas Yadayim. And on the other hand, if you'll make the bracha of al Netillas Yadayim first, so that you're not mafsik between the washing and the bracha, v'achar kach Asher Yatzar, and then you'll make the Asher Yatzar after the al Netillas Yadayim, that's also a problem. Have a hefsik bein berachas netila lahamaitzi. Now you're being mafsik between the bracha of al Netillas Yadayim and the berachas hamaitzi, which we're going to see in Kuf Samach Vav. You're not allowed to do. Okay, maybe there's a third possibility, says the Mishnah Berurah. Ulahaniach milavarich berachas Asher Yatzar ad achar berachas hamaitzi. Maybe what you should do is use the Beis HaKisei, come out, wash, make it on Netillas Yadayim, sit down to the seudah and make hamoitzi, and then after you eat a kazayas of challah, then go ahead and make the Asher Yatzar. Okay, sounds like a pretty good eitzah, right? Because in that case, you're washing, you're immediately making the bracha on Netillas Yadayim, so you're not being mafsik between the washing and the al Netillas Yadayim. You're immediately making the hamoitzi, so you're not being mafsik between al Netillas Yadayim and hamoitzi. Then you'll eat a kazayas, and then you'll make the Asher Yatzar. Sounds like a good eitzah. Says the Mishnah, that's also a problem. Gam kein ein nachin. That's also improper. Shechiyuv v'chalal of miyad kishasat tzrachav. Because the chiyuv of Asher Yatzar landed on you immediately when you used the Beis HaKisei. Ve'ed la'achra kol kach. What right do you have to delay reciting the bracha of Asher Yatzar until after Hamaitzi? So the Mishnah Berurah gave us over here three possible eitzes, three possible ways that you could figure out this puzzle, and he has a problem with every single one. So therefore, it says to Mishnah Berurah, what do you do? The Achrayim write that what you, the Mechaber told us what the eitz is. The Mechaber said what you're going to do is you're going to wash twice, you're going to come out of the Beis HaKisei, you're going to wash once and make the Asher Yatzar. So now you took care of your chiyuv of Asher Yatzar, and you did it as close to using the Beis HaKisei as possible. You used the Beis HaKisei. You can't make the bracha now because you have unclean hands. You washed your hands once. You made an Asher Yatzar. So you disposed of your obligation to make the Asher Yatzar. Al Netillas Yadayim, you can't make it Al Netillas Yadayim yet. You didn't finish washing. Wash a second time, then make the Al Netillas Yadayim, and then right away make Hamoitzi. Now, the Mishnah Berurah explains, though, the technical details of what the Mechaber means when he says wash twice. The Kasva Achrayim. The Achrayim write that when you do the eitzah of the Mechaber, which is to wash twice, tzarich lizayer, you have to take care, shaloi litel bapam arishain netila gemura. You have to make sure that when you do that first washing, when you come out of the Beis HaKisei, it cannot be a netila gemura. What does that mean? It can't be a netila gemura. It can't be a netila that accomplishes Netillas Yadayim l'seudah. You cannot come out of the Beis HaKisei, take a kais, wash a complete Netillas Yadayim, mayim rishayim, mayim shniyim, mayim rishayim, mayim shniyim, and then make an Asher Yatzar, and then wash a second time and make it on Netillas Yadayim. You can't do that. The reason you can't do that is because if you accomplish Netillas Yadayim with the first washing, if you accomplish Netillas Yadayim l'seudah with the first washing, then how could you go ahead and do a second washing and make a bracha on the second washing? The second washing was pointless. If you already fulfilled all of the requirements of Netillas Yadayim l'seudah with the first washing that you did, so then the second washing was meaningless. How could you make a bracha on the second washing? You want to say that your bracha is going on the first washing? Well, if your bracha is going on the first washing, you were already mafsik with Asher Yatzar. So then the Mechaber's eitzah is pointless. So says the Mishnah Berurah like this. He says, Kasra Achrayim, right, the tzarich lizar, you have to be careful, shaloi litel bapam arisha netila gemura, that your first washing should not be a washing that accomplishes Netillas Yadayim l'seudah. So what does that mean? Well, it could mean a lot of things. It could mean, very simply, don't use a keli. For Netillas Yadayim l'seudah, you need a keli. For Netillas Yadayim after the Beis HaKisei to make an Asher Yatzar, you don't need a keli. So come out of the Beis HaKisei, wash your hands without a keli, and then make an Asher Yatzar. And then go ahead and take a keli and wash a proper Netillas Yadayim l'seudah and make it on Netillas Yadayim. In the words of the Mishnah Berurah, tzarich lizar shalelital bapam arisha netila gemura v'rak ma'at mishum nekiyus. Now, the words of the Mishnah Berurah are, you shouldn't wash a netila gemura rak ma'at. Could be that pshat in the Mishnah Berurah is, what he's saying is, the first time you wash, you should make sure not to use a revius. Because remember what we learned in all of the Netillas Yadayim so far. If you come out of the basic kisei and you wash each hand once from a keli with less than a revius, your Netillas Yadayim is not over yet. Because you have a kais that holds a revius, you pour mayim rishonim on your right hand, mayim rishonim on your left hand. Now you took the tumah off your hands, but you still have tamei mayim rishonim on each hand. So your Netillas Yadayim l'seudah is not over. In order to finish your Netillas Yadayim l'seudah, you need to pour mayim shniyim on each hand. So it could be that what the Mishnah Berurah is saying is that the mechaber's eitzah is like this. Use the basic kisei, come out of the basic kisei, wash mayim rishonim with less than a revius on each hand. That way, you have washed your hands to the extent that now you're allowed to make an Asher Yatzar, but you didn't accomplish the Netillas Yadayim l'seudah because you still have tamei mayim rishonim on each hand. Then wash mayim shniyim on each hand, and then make it al Netillas Yadayim. Because only now did you accomplish al Netillas Yadayim. Now there's an inherent risk in doing this, and that is that for a minute or so, you're going to have a right hand and a left hand that each have tamei mayim rishonim on them. If those two hands come into contact with each other, you're going to have to dry your hands and start all over again because you transferred tumah from one hand to the other hand. So there's an inherent risk in doing that eitzah. But be that as it may, says the Mishnah Berurah, again, if you're going to do this eitzah of the mechaber, tzarech lizar, you have to be careful. That you should not wash a complete Netillas Yadayim l'seudah with the first washing. V'rak ma'at mishum nikiyus. You should only do a washing that accomplishes nikiyus hayadayim to allow you to make an Asher Yatzar. Di'elav hachi, because if you wash a real bona fide Netillas Yadayim by that first washing, harei nitaru yada b'pam harishon, then you are matire your hands already with the first washing. Ve'ein shayek levarech oid al Netillas shniyah. Then you can't make an Netillas Yadayim on the second washing. You already will matire your Yadayim with the first washing. V'chanal b'siman kuf nun ches siv zayin. So, if we would break over here, pardon me for just 1 second, if we were to break over here, we have the eitzah of the mechaber explained to us, and the eitzah of the mechaber is again, use the beis hakisei and break your washing into two pieces. Do one partial washing, which will only accomplish Netillas Yadayim, that will allow you to make a bracha of Asher Yatzar, and then make the Asher Yatzar. Then finish off the washing with a washing that will fulfill the requirements of Netillas Yadayim, and then you'll make a bracha of al Netillas Yadayim, and by doing this, you take care of all the problems. You disposed of your chiyuv of Asher Yatzar as close to when the chiyuv was chal on you as possible. You made the bracha of al Netillas Yadayim as soon as you accomplished Netillas Yadayim l'seudah, and you don't have a hefsek between the bracha of al Netillas Yadayim and the bracha of hamoitzi. Okay, so now we have an understanding of this first eitzah of the mechaber of what you should do. Now says the Mishnah Berurah V'da, and you should know. Diyesh kama paiskim. There are many paiskim shesvira luhu who hold the Asher Yatzar loy have a hefsek bein berkas netila lahamoitzi. There are many paiskim that hold that this question, this chashash that we brought up at the beginning of this year, where we said that the eitzah to come out of the beis hakisei, wash a full Netillas Yadayim, make a bracha of al Netillas Yadayim, so that there shouldn't be a hefsek between the washing and the bracha, and then making the Asher Yatzar, we said that that's a problem. Why is it a problem? because you're being mafsik between the bracha of al Netillas Yadayim and the bracha of hamoitzi with the bracha of Asher Yatzar. Says the Mishnah Berurah, there are many poskim who hold that that's not a problem, that does not constitute a problematic hefsik between the al Netillas Yadayim and the hamoitzi. Why not? So their logic is very interesting. Their logic is that, as we know in many different halachic questions of hefsek, when you do something that's a tzorich, it doesn't constitute a hefsek. For example, if you have to be mafsik, this is an interesting shaila that came up this year by somebody on Rosh Hashanah. Somebody was davening Rosh Hashanah, and we know that the bracha of Hamelech HaKadosh in the Shemoneh Esrei of Rosh Hashanah is a very long bracha, right? We insert into the bracha of Kedushas Hashem, we insert into that bracha Uvechein Teit Pachtecha, etc., etc. Now, this person went to daven Shemoneh Esrei and Rosh Hashanah with a lot of kavana, and he was davening Bal Peh with his eyes closed, with a lot of kavana, and accidentally he went Ata Kadosh Yeshibcha Kadosh Kedosh B'Chol Yom Yalelucha Sela Ki Kel Melech Gadol V'Kadosh Ata Baruch Ata Hashem HaMelech HaKadosh. And he finished off the bracha of Kedushas Hashem without saying any of the Uvechein Teit Pachtecha paragraphs. Now we had a big shiloh. What do I do? Do I say Uvechein Teit Pachtecha now? Or do I leave it out? And do I continue Shemoneh Esrei from after? The answer is that you skip Uvechein Teit Pachtecha. He didn't know what to do. Now you're in the middle of Shemoneh Esrei. What do? How am I going to go ask a shiloh? I'm in the middle of davening Shemoneh Esrei. How do I ask a shiloh? Well, the halacha is that it's a tzarech hatfila. You're allowed to be mafsik. You're allowed to step out of your place, walk over to the Rav, walk over to the Paisik, and tell the Paisik your shiloh, and ask him for a psak, and get a psak, and go back to Shemoneh Esrei. So when a hefsik is a tzarech of the thing that you're doing, it doesn't constitute a hefsik. So there are poskim that reason like this. In this scenario, we're suggesting that what you should do is, you should come out of the basic kisei, wash the Netillas Yadayim, make the bracha of al Netillas Yadayim, and then make the Asher Yatzar. Now, if you do that, why did you delay the Asher Yatzar until after the Netillas Yadayim? The reason you delayed it was a tzorech seudah. What do I mean it's a tzorech seudah? Well, Netillas Yadayim is a tzorech seudah. You can't sit down to the seudah until you wash the Netillas Yadayim and make a bracha of al Netillas Yadayim. So the whole Netillas Yadayim is a tzorech seudah. In order to wash the Netillas Yadayim, you need to wash, and then you need to make the bracha of al Netillas Yadayim without a hefsek. So the reason you're delaying your Asher Yatzar until after the Netillas Yadayim is in order to properly be Mekayim the halacha of Netillas Yadayim by washing and then immediately making the bracha. So the reason you're inserting the bracha of Asher Yatzar between the bracha of Netillas Yadayim and the bracha of Hamoitzi is a tzarech seudah. Since it's a tzarech seudah, it doesn't constitute a hefsek. That's the reasoning of these poskim. So they prefer that eitzah. They prefer the eitzah, use the basic kisei, wash a full Netillas Yadayim, make a bracha of al Netillas Yadayim immediately after the washing, and then make the Asher Yatzar, and then go make the Hamoitzi. That's the way these poskim hold. Let's see it inside. The Mishnah Berurah says, V'da, and you should know. The yesh kama poskim. There are many poskim. Excuse me 1 second. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol nihiyeh b'dvarai. The throat needs a little lubrication. V'da, and you should know, says the Mishnah Berurah. The yesh kama poskim, that there are many poskim shesvir lahu, who they hold, the Asher Yatzar lo have a hefsik bein berchas tetila lahamoitzi. That in our case, the bracha of Asher Yatzar does not constitute a hefsik between the bracha of al Netillas Yadayim and the bracha of Hamoitzi. Why? Mishum dahakoil l'tzeirich taras yadayim. because the whole reason you're delaying the bracha of Asher Yatzar until after the bracha of Al Netillas Yadayim is a tzorich of the halachas of Netillas Yadayim, and therefore it's tzarchi seudah. V'hevi k'mai gabel l'Torah b'siman kuf samach zayin. It's similar to the case where somebody is mafsik when he realizes that he did not yet feed his animals. We know that there's halacha that if you have animals and you're responsible for their feeding, they count on you to provide their food. You're not allowed to sit down to eat until you feed the animals. So what happens if somebody washes the Netillas Yadayim and then before he makes the hamaitzi, he realizes that he didn't feed his animals? The halacha is he's allowed to go give the feed to his animals and then come back and make the hamaitzi. He's being mafsik between the netila and the berachas hamaitzi. Yeah, but it's tzarich seudah, so it's not a hefsek. Valkain, and therefore says the Mishnah Berurah, in b'diavad natal netila achas kadin l'shem netila la'achila. Therefore, says the Mishnah Berurah, and he's couching it as a b'diavad. He's saying b'diavad, if really you wanted to follow the way we explained the Mechaber's first eitzah. Really, what you were going to do was use the Beis HaKisei, wash one netila that doesn't meet the requirements of Netillas Yadayim l'seudah, make the Asher Yatzar, then finish off the washing of Netillas Yadayim, and then make the Netillas Yadayim. But you goofed. You came out of the Beis HaKisei, you took the washing cup, and you washed a full Netillas Yadayim l'seudah. Now what are you going to do? So says the Mishnah Berurah, if you did that b'diavad, so rely on these paiskim, and go ahead, make a bracha on the Netillas Yadayim, and then make the Asher Yatzar before you make the hamaitzi. Yavarich mitchila on the Netillas Yadayim, v'achakach Asher Yatzar, to yesh lispaich al paiskim elu, because you could be soimich on these paiskim that say that the Asher Yatzar does not constitute a hefsek between the Netillas Yadayim and hamaitzi. And continues the Mishnah Berurah, and he says, "V'hu hadin lechatchila im hayakasha le'lital shtei netilos midoichik mayim." Let's say you don't have enough water to patsy around doing what the Mechaber suggested over here with separate washings. So it's a doichik. You can't do that. V'kayotza bazeh, or there's some other tchak, there's some other shas of tchak. Why this eitzah is not practicable? Yital achas, wash once. V'yavarach on the Netillas Yadayim, make the bracha on the Netillas Yadayim, v'achakach Asher Yatzar, and then wash Asher Yatzar, and then make the bracha of Asher Yatzar. I will tell you that this is the psak that I was bekabel from my Rebbe, Rav Goin in Feinstein, Stark. This is the psak that I was bekabel from him, and the Meiser Rav that I have from watching him many, 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 many times, is to tackle wash a full Netillas Yadayim when you come out of the Beis HaKisei, make a bracha of Al Netillas Yadayim right away, and then make an Asher Yatzar, and then make the hamaitzi. Kasav Magen Avraham, the Magen Avraham writes, to Ha'isat Tzrachav be'emtza seudah. We've been talking until now if you use the Beis HaKisei before the seudah. How about if you need the Beis HaKisei during the seudah? So we learned yesterday, the psak of the Mishnah Berurah, if you use the Beis HaKisei for Gedolim in middle of the seudah, you have to wash the Netillas Yadayim again with a bracha. Says the Mishnah Berurah here, Kasav Magen Avraham, the Magen Avraham writes, to Ha'isat Tzrachav be'emtza seudah, if you use the facilities in middle of the seudah and you need to wash and make a bracha, l'kulei alma noitel rak pam achas, in that case, you definitely should only wash once, u'mavarach on the Netillas Yadayim, and make the bracha of Al Netillas Yadayim, v'achakach Asher Yatzar, and then you should make the Asher Yatzar. Again, what are we talking about here? We said that if you use the Beis HaKisei before the seudah, then lechatchila, we didn't like the idea that you should wash, make Al Netillas Yadayim, and then make Asher Yatzar. Why? Because then the Asher Yatzar becomes a hefsek between the Netillas Yadayim and the hamaitzi. Now let's change the case a little bit. Somebody used the basic kisei for gedolim in middle of the seudah, and he's following the psak of the Mishnah Berurah that requires him to wash a new Netillas Yadayim with a bracha. Says the Magen Avram, in that case, use the basic kisei, wash a full Netillas Yadayim, make the bracha of al Netillas Yadayim, and then make the Asher Yatzar. You know why? Because then there's no question of being mafsik between the Netillas Yadayim and the hamoitzi. You're not making a hamoitzi. You're in the middle of the seudah. You made the hamoitzi at the beginning of the seudah. Now this happens to be very interesting, because from this Magen Avram we see that the shaila of being mafsik between the Netillas Yadayim and the seudah is not a question of being mafsik between the Netillas Yadayim and the eating. It's not a question of tekef linetila seudah, as much as it's an issue of tekef linetila hamoitzi. We don't want to have a hefsek between the Netillas Yadayim and the hamoitzi. And that's something that we'll get into, Mir Hashem, when we learn Siman Kuf Samach Vav. That happens to be a very interesting issue. So again, Kazam Magen Avram, Dois Tzraka Be'emtza Seudah, L'Kol Yalma Noit Rak Pamachas Bavarch Am Netillas Yadayim, V'Achar Kach Asher Yatzar, Kevin Dein Tzarch L'Varch HaMoitzi. Because then you're not making a hamoitzi. You already made the hamoitzi in the beginning of the seudah. And Im Kain ain't kan hefsek. And therefore there's no problematic hefsek. Okay, I know it's a little bit abbreviated, and I was planning on doing half of this daf. I'm going to stop for now, and maybe, I'm recording this Thursday night. Maybe I will make an additional share tomorrow. We'll see if that is practicable. Thank you so much for joining me for limud Torah. The source of limud Torah should be making against Klal Yisrael. The Ram should send Yeshua's and Furas Parnas and Shidduchim to all those in need, and we should be zeicher to see the B'Yisrael Tzedek. B'mehera v'yameinu amen. Be well.